It's been a busy evening with massive news developments coming in. So before we move on to the big debate that we had planned, we must address what's going on at the premier investigative agency of our country. 48 hours since he was reinstated as the CBI chief, Alok Verma has been sacked one more time. Now, the high-powered committee, which is also known as a selection panel that also gets to decide if a CBI chief needs to be removed, met today for almost 3 hours. This committee comprises Prime Minister Modi, Leader of Opposition Mallikarjun Kharge, and usually the CJI, but because CJI had already sat on a case related to this, Justice Sikri was part of this panel. 2:1 was the ratio to decide and move him out. Mallikarjun Kharge of the Congress obviously was a dissenting voice. So Alok Verma, who spent the last 24 hours shunting people out, reversing all the transfers that had been made by the interim chief while he was on forced leave and issuing new transfer orders, has himself been moved out and sent as DG Fire Services. Now, the high-powered committee said prima facie we found merit in some of the charges and that we did not think that Alok Verma should continue to be at the helm of an institution like CBI. On your screens are the details of the CVC investigation that was referred to by the high-powered committee. And as you see those details, you will find out that in crucial cases, CVC did find evidence of wrongdoing, did find evidence of Alok Verma interfering, did find evidence that suggested perhaps bribes had been taken, did find evidence that he had pulled in, brought on tainted officers within the CBI, did find evidence of wrongdoing in the Moin Qureshi, the meat exporter / money launderer case that has gone on forever, and several other cases. So the fact of the matter is that the high-powered committee, in which Justice Sikri and Prime Minister Modi were convinced that this man, as he faces these charges, cannot be at the helm of CBI. Now, I must point out, it doesn't mean that he has completely been proven of corruption in all of these charges. But I have some basic questions tonight. Firstly, should Alok Verma have been given a due hearing? Does this prove that till now CBI was being led by a corrupt individual? Second question that I will be asking my panelists tonight: who should further probe the charges against Verma? While these are prima facie findings, there has to be an official agency that looks into these very, very serious charges across multiple cases. And thirdly, and most importantly, a larger question: will the decision to move him out now end the crisis within the CBI? Now, tonight, I am calling this CBI drama 2.0. It's a circus that doesn't seem to end. One of the former CBI directors, AP Singh, who himself has been drawn into multiple controversies and scandals, joins me this evening. Mr. AP Singh, thank you for speaking to Mirror Now. First, let me ask you, what do you think of these developments that have taken place, especially what's happened this evening and the decision to move Alok Verma out?
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Singh, can you hear me?
There.
Mr. AP Singh, good evening. This is Tanvi here. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. It's not clear.
Okay,
No, it's not clear.
we're just going to fix that audio for you and boost the audio for AP Singh. Now, here is what the allegations said and what the CVC findings were. Influencing investigation by taking bribe. The finding was no evidence of payment of bribe. Further investigation is required for verifying the circumstantial evidence. Exclusion of a suspect from being named as an accused in FIR on the IRCTC case. Now remember, the IRCTC case is the one involving Lalu Prasad and his family. The allegation was that Alok Verma was trying to protect Lalu Prasad. The CBC findings are that allegation is substantiated, amounts to serious misconduct and warrants disciplinary and other actions. Here is some more. Inordinate delay in finalizing investigation report in a bank fraud case against main accused. This allegation was found to be correct. Attempts to induct tainted officers in CBI. Allegation found to be substantiated. What was not substantiated is transfer of a SIR related to Joint Director CBI, not taking action on certain intelligence inputs, illegal gratification and ongoing prelim inquiry in the Haryana land acquisition case. So where bribery is concerned, there needs to be a further investigation, but there was definitely some wrongdoing and misconduct as per the CVC. Now let me also bring in Mr. M.L. Sharma, former Special Director of the CBI. Mr. Sharma, your views on the developments. Do you think that if there are such serious charges, it is a good move to ensure that he is not heading the CBI until further investigation?
See, my perception is that high-powered committee met in compliance of the Supreme Court order. They went through the inquiry report of the CVC, and then they came to the conclusion by majority vote that Mr. Verma should be transferred out of the CBI. Now, as expected, the Prime Minister took one line and the leader of opposition took another line. So basically, the casting vote was that of Mr. Justice Sikri. Now, Mr. Justice Sikri is a very accomplished, experienced, and sound judge. If he has come to this conclusion, it is his decision, which he has taken in his administrative capacity for all intents and purposes. If Mr. Justice Sikri has come to this conclusion, there should be good reasons for that, and I leave it at that.
Okay, but Mr. Sharma, procedurally speaking, who should be the right agency to now investigate these charges further? The CVC has done its probe, the findings are with the court, the findings are with this high empowered committee, but obviously there would be further investigation needed to decide on the action. Who should be that agency? We can't really trust the CBI to do it.
Please understand that recording statement of ABC is not investigation. Investigation is much wider than that, in which not only you have to go behind the statements, but you have also to bring forensics into play. CBC doesn't have that wherewithal, nor does it have that kind of ability. So if the government is serious that the allegations and counter-allegations, I would say, should be seriously investigated, then the government should think in terms of constituting an independent SIT consisting of senior retired officers who are well accomplished in investigation. This is the only way to bring out the truth. Any government agency at that level cannot bring out the truth. Not the CBI, not the CBC. It has to be something, some entity beyond that.
I also want to ask you, Mr. Sharma, do you think it was right for Alok Verma to go on this trip that he went on last 24 hours, where he reversed all the transfers that had been made by the interim chief, where he issued fresh transfer orders, where he completely did this rejig between various units of the CBI, knowing fully well that even as he was doing this, his fate was being decided by the committee? Was it right? Should he not have waited rather than again bringing in this turmoil within the CBI?
I think as his fate was hanging in balance, he should have waited for a couple of days. He should not have been in a great hurry to order these transfers. This is my personal view.
Okay. Mr. Amil Sharma, always great to have you and hear your views. Thank you for speaking to the viewers of Mirror Now. Let me also say good evening to Mahmood Paracha, senior lawyer. But first, I'm going to try to go across to Mr. AP Singh, former CBI director. Mr. Singh, is my audio better now?
Yeah, it's clearer now.
Right. Mr. Singh, let's begin with what you think of the decision to move Alok Verma out by the Empowered Committee today.
Well, the Supreme Court had said that, the high-powered committee should take a decision on this matter, and the high-powered committee has taken a decision. So I don't think that anybody has anything to comment on that. Because the high-powered committee consists of the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and a Supreme Court judge. Actually, it is the Chief Justice or his nominee. So once there's a Supreme Court judge there in the high-powered committee, I'm sure that they've taken a very fair and balanced view.
But one of the members of the high-powered committee, Mr. Singh, Mallikarjun Kharge, has opposed it and dissented. Apart from the obvious reasons that he's part of the opposition, he insisted that Alok Verma be given a hearing by this committee. Procedurally speaking, do you think that should have happened? Or as the other side suggests, that Alok Verma already presented his side to the CVC, so there was no reason to give him another chance to explain himself?
Well, going from the charges that were made by the CBC against Mr. Verma, they don't seem to be very serious. I mean, they're not criminal in nature. They're more of misconduct. So maybe they could have heard him, but that's a call that the committee had to take. And whatever the call the committee has taken, and once you have a Supreme Court judge there, then it's his call really. So I don't think that we can fault them as far as whether they called Mr. Verma or they did not call him, because the CVC had already called him, and there was a Supreme Court judge there, also a retired Supreme Court judge, who was overseeing the inquiry by the CVC. So I think that it's a fair call. It's possible that they may have called Mr. Verma or they may not have. But that's a decision that the committee had to take as one body, and obviously with the Supreme Court judge sitting there, it would have been a fair decision.
One of the big charges was, of course, him interfering and trying to influence and taking a bribe in the Moin Qureshi case. And Moin Qureshi case is one of those cases, Mr. Singh, that has gone on for a long time. Your name has also been dragged in. The CBI has also booked you. Do you think that case has now gone completely haywire and there has to be an investigation afresh? What is your own response to that specific case and the fact that even you have been named there?
I have no comments to make on that case. Nobody has called me yet. I've never been examined, and I have never been questioned in that matter. And I'm sure that the agency, when it feels necessary, will take the appropriate actions in that matter.
Can the CBI now move on and try?
And I don't think that case has anything to do with.
Yes, go ahead. Finish your point, please.
No, I was just going to say that I don't think that has anything to do with Mr. Verma's removal or his transfer.
Well, you have to. I have to ask you that question, of course, because your name has been dragged in. You have been booked. Questions have been raised about Ranjit Sinha's conduct, who was your successor, and now the latest one being Alok Verma. The CVC order refers to the Moin Qureshi case as well, without as much saying so. So obviously that's in the thick of this. But my question, larger question to you, Mr. Singh, is that do you think the CBI will actually be able to now emerge and rebuild the trust of the public? That is the crisis now over with Alok Verma being moved out?
Of course, the CBI will be able to come out of this. These crises happen in agencies occasionally. There was a lot of infighting going on, And now that the concerned parties have been removed, and I'm sure the new director will come and he will take charge. And I think things will be back to normal. Why shouldn't they be?
Because there are way too many things which are still unresolved. I would think, for example, we still don't know what's going to happen to Rakesh Asthana. For example, we still don't know if one more time all the transfer orders are going to be reversed, if there is going to be an altogether new team. We don't know the impact of the ouster and the corruption investigation against Alok Verma on the cases that he headed, that he investigated, or Rakesh Asthana investigated. So all of that still continues. But of course, I get your point. The hope is that there has been a learning lesson here, and then we're able to, now get the CBI out of this crisis. AP Singh, thank you for joining us and sharing your views on this big development. Let me bring in our other panelists. Mahmood Paracha, legally speaking, this is the procedure that had to be followed, where the Supreme Court said, where as far as the procedure that was followed, that was illegal, that CVC order is not valid, but let's follow the procedure. And then you decide, and the selection committee has decided today.
See, since a sitting Supreme Court judge, who's a nominee of the Honorable Chief Justice of India, has given a casting vote, I'm sure there would be circumstances and evidence against Mr. Verma. But that is not the real issue actually if we see the entire thing. The real issue is how the present government has denigrated and finished the CBI institution, the anti-corruption organization of this country. It has been totally destroyed by the acts of this present government. That is the real issue. Now, I will have to take you back to the real facts in this case and what has led to this. See, Mr. Asthana, which is the root cause of all this problem, is not being talked about. What about the corruption charges against him? That is the real issue. He was appointed as an officer while he was still being investigated in a corruption case. He was appointed as an officer of the CBI by this present government. It has never happened before. So he was also made an acting director while being a very junior officer of the CBI. So this is what he was. He is a man Friday of Mr. Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. Everybody knows this. So he was handpicked and placed in the CBI to handle various aspects for these two people. So now what happened is this chap, because of his proximity to the Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah, nursed a dream, or he wanted to be the super director of the CBI. Mr. Alok Verma, I am not commenting or not giving him any clean sheet. He was appointed. If he was so corrupt, he should not have been handpicked by Mr. Modi to be proposed as the CBI director. But anyway, he became the CBI director. Now he refused this derogation of chain of command, and he refused to obey to a junior officer like Mr. Asthana. That is the root cause of the problem. So it has to be addressed in that manner. It was Mr. Asthana who was putting his foot down and he was acting like a super director, which is the root cause of this problem. So we have to address, there cannot be any victors in this, and the institution of CBI that has been destroyed. That is the main issue for this. For this act of this government, I think this government should never be forgiven or forgotten by the nation. That's the real issue in this.
Well, there is no denying that there is a massive crisis in the CBI that has gone on for now several months. But let's also not forget, Mr. Paracha, that Ranjit Sinha, who was the CBI chief during the tenure of UPA, is facing multiple charges as well, is under the scanner as well. So is Mr. AP Singh, that I was just some time ago speaking with. The Moin Qureshi case that is also linked and keeps coming up in Alok Verma and Asthana's case is also the same case that was being linked to AP Singh and Ranjit Sinha. So I mean the fact of the matter is that successive governments maybe have allowed the rot to continue. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Let me quickly go across to Mr. Karthikeyan, also a former CBI director, joining us from Bengaluru. Always good to have you on our show, Mr. Karthikeyan. Let me first begin by asking you, I have three basic questions tonight. The first one is, does this prove that a corrupt man was leading the CBI?
I do not think so, because he was appointed on being cleared unanimously, I suppose, by the high-level committee, headed by the Honorable Chief Justice of India, Honorable Prime Minister, and the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. At least at that point of time, they found him the most suitable person with unquestionable integrity. If at all any comment is being made, it is something which must have happened recently. I think your other panelists have been giving you graphically describing what must have happened. But for the time being, my short answer to your first question is no. He was a man of very good reputation. In fact, we are surprised about the charges. And if the committee has taken a decision, they must have found something.
Right. Yes, because the CVC order, of course, that has been quoted in the dissent note by Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, does raise many of these allegations and says in some allegations they found that they have been substantiated and that there is evidence. In other allegations, there is no evidence and some need to be probed further. So, Mr. Karthikeyan, who should be probing these charges further to close the case? It has to be an agency that has the experience, that has the skill. It obviously cannot be the CBI, whether it's the Alok Verma case or even the Rakesh Asthana case. Who investigates the top bosses of CBI?
It has to be done by the CBI or by a special investigation team monitored by the Supreme Court of India. Well, it's only a speculation. I'm sure the Honorable Supreme Court, which is seized of the matter, will also give a solution. Wait for a day or two.
Okay, you say wait for a day or two. Mahmood Paracha, do you agree that the CBI should be the one that further probes these two cases? Obviously, CVC findings were done in a hurry to be given to the court. Even the selection committee's decision says prima facie, we don't think right now as he faces these charges, he should be leading the CBI. So who investigates? How can we trust the CBI ever again?
See, I will be very candid once again. I was not at all hinting that everything was hunky-dory in the earlier regimes or the UPA government or whatever. I was never intending to even hint that. But this is the newest or the lowest of the low. That is the worry in which the entire institution has been destroyed because of the acts which I just said. So now, what have we reached? What stage have we reached as a country where there is a premier investigating agency which is responsible for eradicating corruption in this country and other sensitive matters? So that we can't, as a nation, can't trust it. So we want, and that will be the only option left now, that this has to be supervised by a bench of Supreme Court. But this is not an ideal situation. This is a worst situation which can happen because we have totally lost the trust in premier investigating agency of the country. See, that is the damage. And Supreme Court's, it is not Supreme Court's job to, and it, even law prohibits that investigation has to be conducted and an absolute free hand has to be given to an investigating officer. But we cannot now, under these circumstances, trust an investigating officer. So this is the plight of the country which we should be worried about, rather than Mr. Verma and Mr. Asthana, and for that matter the Prime Minister and Amit Shah Sahab. So that should be our main concern at this time. How do we retrieve back the premier investigating agency of the country?
I absolutely agree with you, and that should be the prime focus of this government. Enough of drama, enough of circus now has gone on for far too long. With this decision, with a new CBI chief now coming in, one can only hope that some amount of semblance comes back to what was called the premier investigative agency of our country. Thank you so much, Mr. Karthikeyan and Mahmood Paracha, for joining us on such short notice. The big developing breaking story of this evening. Here is what I think, viewers, about this. What Alok Verma did in the last 24 hours by itself was absolutely unprofessional and uncalled for. A man who was forcefully sent on leave because he faces allegations of corruption and questions are being raised about his conduct in multiple cases. He was then reinstated by the Supreme Court only because the procedure was not duly followed to oust him. He then, within 24 hours, decides to completely bring a fresh round of turmoil to the CBI, knowing fully well that his fate will be decided within a week, whether he's in or out. And he still did all of that. So it is for perhaps the best that Alok Verma has been sent out. I am not saying he is corrupt, but I am saying there are questions being raised, and one can only hope that him being moved out is not the end of this. We need to know whether or not a corrupt man was leading the CBI. We need to know whether or not the number 2 man in CBI, Rakesh Asthana, is also corrupt. And we need to know what this government will do to reinstill people's faith in CBI. That's debate number 1. We move on to the other big topic.